Hi everybody, welcome to J&S Farms, and today I am going to be talking about goats, and the topic is horns versus no horns on your goats. Now in the goat world, this is kind of a hot button topic or debate, if you will. There are people who are strongly for horns and people who are strongly against horns. There's not a lot of people that are kind of wishy-washy or in the middle on this. You either are or you aren't. But I haven't seen a lot of videos on the topic here on YouTube, so I thought that I would put my 2 cents in and make a video about it. Now, before I even get started, like I said, everybody has their own opinions on this, and a lot of people have very strong opinions. The only thing I ask is if you are going to leave a comment down below, please be respectful. Everybody is entitled to their own opinions, and please don't get into a war on this issue. Just please be respectful. If it becomes too much of a problem, I'll just, take the video down. But anyway, so please be mindful of that. Respect everybody's opinions, and they're entitled to them. So, as most of you know, I recently had an issue with one of my goats that has horns. If you haven't seen the video, you can go go check it out. It's I think it's goat video number 6, and then I also have another video after I had the vet come out and she was all fixed up. So, and she's doing very nicely now. But anyway, so that got me to thinking maybe I should do a video on the topic of, the horns on the goats. If you're thinking about getting goats, or you already have goats and you're on the fence and don't really know which one you prefer, I just thought that I would, throw my information out there and you can decide for yourself. So, my personal opinion, I prefer horns on my goats, and I will give you a few reasons as to why I like that, and then I will kind of get into other considerations if you have goats with horns and different things like that. So the first thing that I do like the goats having horns is it is a natural predator defense mechanism for them. Yes, I have my livestock guardian dogs, but that is just kind of an extra added layer of protection for the goats, because they can and do know how to use them in that situation, and it's safer if they do have the horns. So that is one reason. Another reason, and I think this is a very important reason, horns help regulate their body temperature. It's kind of like the ears on a rabbit. Rabbit ears are how a rabbit regulates its body temperature. And you can tell by how high they have their ears in the air as opposed to next to their body. Well, goats have kind of the same principle with their horns. They have major blood vessels that expand and contract in their horns that help keep them cool in the summertime, and it really does help them out a lot with that. They don't pant as hard and things like that. So it really is a great way for them to have a cooling system for their body in the summertime. They have a built-in back scratcher. If you've never seen a goat give a good scratch on the back with their horn, it's pretty funny to watch, especially if they hit a spot with it's kind of really itchy. It's one of those moments, and it's kind of funny to watch. So it allows them to reach places that are hard to reach, as opposed with the goats that don't have the horns. They have to find something to take care of that itch. So they use their horns as a browsing tool. Goats will pull down small branches, of bushes and trees and get those prized leaves that they also want all the time. In my opinion, it's kind of funny because the leaves, the higher the leaf, the better it tastes to a goat. And they're always after those tippy top leaves on the branches. So, and then another reason, you have kind of a built-in emergency handle on the goat. Now, saying that, I do not recommend grabbing your goat by the horns and dragging them. I only use it if it is the only other option to control the goat in an emergency situation or something like that. It's real quick, you can grab it and then find an alternate means of controlling the animal, either if it's got a collar on or if you can get a rope around its neck or something else. It's kind of just there, and it's extra emergency, way to control your animal if you have to. So those are some of the reasons that I really like having the horns on the goats. Now, there are a few other things to consider when you do have goats with horns. Goats have a natural hierarchy system in their herd. Whether they have horns or not, it doesn't matter. Goats will always headbutt, and they can be kind of nasty to one another to establish their dominance. There is a pecking order, and each goat has a ranking. And what that does is that establishes who gets to eat first, who gets to drink first, who gets the best hay, who gets the best feed. That's just how goats do it. That's how they see things. They see them in black and white, and I'm your boss. And when another goat challenges another goat, that is when the fighting ensues. Now, the biggest issue you would have with the horns in that situation is if you run a mixed herd of goats with horns versus goats without horns. The goats without horns are going to be the lowest in the pecking order. They're not going to get their choice of hay and feed. They'll just kind of get where they can. If you do run a herd like that, I would definitely recommend making a feeding situation where all have access to the good stuff, and there's no waiting to eat at that point. So definitely keep that in consideration whenever you do run a goat herd that has goats with and without horns. Let's see here. Sorry about the wind. I hope it's not too horrible for you guys. Horns can be intimidating, and yes, they are dangerous. But if you have ever been headbutted by a goat, it's going to hurt like the dickens whether the goat has horns or whether it does not have horns. Their heads are designed to take an impact such as headbutting, and they have very hard heads, and to me, I've been butted by both and still hurts just the same. The danger comes in when you have the goats with horns, when the goat learns how to hook. Now that is the practice of taking the horn and actually swinging their head around and hooking the horn up into another goat, or using it as a weapon to control the situation. So definitely, UPS guy's here. That is where the danger comes in when you have goats with horns, is the hooking behavior, because the ends of the horns are sharp, and they can intentionally or unintentionally hurt you. You know, I've seen instances where you're trimming a goat's hooves, and if you're not controlling the goat very well, you know, they don't like having their hooves trimmed, so they're gonna fight you and try to get away from you. And that's where a goat can get you with that horn, or you know, it can be a little bit dangerous that way. So having the proper restraints when working with a goat with horns is very essential in doing it safely. So now with billy goats, yes, they are more dangerous when they have horns, because they do have that testosterone running through their veins, and you really have to be careful when you have that scenario with the billy goat horns. I guess Ziva needed a dip in the pond. Goofy dog. Thank you, Ziva. She just got me wet. I lost my train of thought. Thank you, Z. Hang on, let me refer to my notes here. Oh, yes. And if you have your goats with horns, if they show aggression towards people, or they decide that the hooking behavior is acceptable, you either A, need to extremely discourage that behavior because it is very dangerous, or cull that animal and send it to the sale barn. If you have an animal like that, please don't sell it to somebody that is going to take it home. It's dangerous, and it's very, in my opinion, unethical to do that, because the horns can be dangerous, and they are if your goat is ornery. So it's all depends on your situation and your setup. With small children, I would definitely not recommend letting the children go unsupervised around the goats, especially if you don't trust them. It all comes down to your comfort level and knowing your animals. Animals, you may know that animal very well, but that animal can also have a bad day, just like people, or be cranky one day. So the proper handling and safety precautions should probably be taken if you have smaller children, or if you have a goat that you don't trust. Me personally, if I don't trust the goat, I don't keep the goat. Regardless of bloodline or how good that goat is, it's not worth it to me to have a dangerous goat anywhere near me. So, goats can and do get their heads stuck in fences. They love to stick their heads through things. They love to try and push the envelope and see where they can and can't get to. Goats are very ornery when it comes to that. I guess their philosophy is, yes, the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. So, here we do not have that issue. I set up my fences with the fencing that they cannot even stick their heads through at all. So I don't have to worry about that. But if you move to a property where the fences are wide enough where they can get their heads through, I would probably recommend putting a couple of strands of electric fencing on the inside of the fence. That way they get zapped and they just don't even bother with sticking their heads through the fence anymore. Goats are quick learners like that, and you shouldn't have a problem if you do something like that. It's very dangerous if a goat gets their head hung in a fence on a hot day. They can dehydrate and they can die pretty quickly. So that's one thing to consider when you do have goats with horns, is your fencing situation, and be very cautious on that. Let's see. Alright, if you're going to have goats and you plan on showing them, with dairy goats, they must be disbudded, must be dehorned to show them in a dairy goat show, a sanctioned dairy goat show. You cannot have horns on the goats, so keep that in mind. Now, if you have, sorry about the wind, guys. I hope it's not too loud. If you have meat goats, they prefer having the horns on. So it just depends on the type of goat that you want to show. If you have the meat goats, yes, the horns are required. Dairy goats, the horns are discouraged. So keep that in mind. Okay, so the last thing I have for you is, I think it's probably the most hot button issue as far as horns or no horns, and that is the issue of disbudding the kids. Now, I've seen it done, and if you've never seen it done, I would encourage you to go watch a video and see how it's done. It's just, there's a tool that you use. It's an iron, and it's got a little circle at the end, and what you do is you have the little buds on the top of the goat's head, and you take this hot iron and you just put it around the buds, and then that burns it to where the buds no longer will grow, and that's what discourages horns from growing on your goats. If it's done properly, the baby goats, it's just a few minutes of pain, and then normally they're just up bouncing around and acting just fine and normal right afterwards, if it's done properly. Myself, it doesn't bother me. Some people it really bothers them, so it's one of those things. You just do your own research on that, as far as just, watch a video of it being done, and then you can, decide for yourself. Now, disbudding can go horribly wrong. If you don't know how to do it properly, you can cause brain damage to the baby goat. You can, it can go horribly wrong. Let's just put it that way. If you go too deep, you can damage the poor little goat and have some serious injuries. And then the last thing for the disbudding, sometimes you don't get all of the bud, and that is what causes skurs to form. And skurs are just little pieces of horn that grow out of the head. Normally they don't hurt the goat. They can break off and they're very bloody. They'll grow back. Sometimes they can curl in on themselves and grow into the head, where you will have to get those removed because it can cause infection and different things like that. And they're just a little unsightly. Otherwise, skurs are not, horrible things to have on a goat. They're just a little unsightly, and if they grow into the actual goat's, like they curl in and they grow into their head, that you'll have to have that one removed, or they knock them off on their own, and it's just a little unsightly. So anyway, so that's kind of my take on goats with horns. I prefer the horns, and it's one of those things where it's your own personal preference. And like I said, if you leave a comment, please be respectful to everybody else. Anyway, let's see. Ultimately, it's your decision, so please weigh the pros and cons and decide for yourself. I hope this video was helpful for you guys, and any questions, feel free, and you guys have a good day. Take care. Bye.